Good morning and welcome to the Milpitas Beat Unfiltered. I'm your host, Francie Soito, and joining me this morning for our first segment is Senator Bob Wieckowski. Thanks for joining us, Senator.
Well, Francine, thanks for having me here.
Awesome. So I'd love to chat with you about your first term as senator. So you've passed approximately 15 bills so far. Tell us about some of the highlights.
Well, I think people would look at the body of work in two categories, one in climate and the other in income inequality. And in the climate, we've created agency, or not actually an agency, an office for climate adaptation. A lot of work's been done on mitigation, but I've trying to force California and the rest of the world to talk about adapting to sea level rises, all the fires, and incorporating that, embedding that throughout every agency in the state of California. So one of the problems we have is the communication between the state and our regional partners in the cities. So this is, we have a website, a clearinghouse for information. We have a task force, a technical group that advises people. So that's sort of a big step. I was unsuccessful this year, but next year I'll go back and really making that like the Office of Climate Adaptation. Second thing is income inequality. I've been working about, average working people, the amount of wages that you get garnished. We were successful of limiting that. This started in 50 years ago in 1968. We didn't have wage garnishment for people to collect. And with the amount of homelessness and the amount of poverty, people that are struggling now, this is an idea that instead of taking 25% of my wages or levying my bank account, taking all the money, we've got it so the poorest people can retain some of the money, and as long as the minimum wage goes up, you're protected for that just for survival purposes. So those are things that I'm proud of.
That's great. And so let's talk about climate change. So you've recently spoke at a global climate summit about things like gas emissions and air quality. Here in Milpitas, odor is a big issue, so is air quality. Will any of the things that you're talking about statewide affect the odor quality in Milpitas?
Well, we're not sure. I mean, we know that there's a study. Part of the expansion of the Newbie Island was to allow an independent third party to come in and study the regional impacts of odors, because while there's one facility in Milpitas, there's 6 other facilities in the South Bay. So one of the things that we're trying to accomplish, the group Resilience by Design, is looking regionally. Instead of having each city or each county decide this is what I want to do, we're going to look at it globally. So there's about 7 or 8 projects on wetland restoration and Highway 37. I think Highway 37 up in Napa is a big regional project, because as we get sea level rise or we have storm surges, Milpitas is going to be impacted by a storm surge, and we can't just say, well, we want to build a levee or build a wall there. You have to have some place for that water to go, and raising Highway 37 and allowing that water to go underneath helps out San Francisco, helps out Milpitas, and helps out the whole Bay region. So what we're trying to do is get the people cooperating in the different cities, because typically everybody says, I'm worried about my bid. So the study on the odor hasn't come out yet. It's starting. My office goes to quarterly meetings and participates in that in that plan. I think one of the things that may help out Milpitas that they're not glued on is I had a bill that the governor signed, which expands the South San Francisco wetlands. It's a modest amount of state money, but it's part of that financial puzzle with the federal government, and it's going to increase the levees that are out here and save a lot of houses from flooding, save a lot of businesses, they hallmark names, but also 3 wastewater treatment plants are now going to be protected because they're going to be on the other side. It's also going to continue the Bay Trail all the way from Redwood City to Dixon Landing. You're going to be able to walk on the trail and ride your bikes and all that. So when the wastewater treatment facilities have that assurance that they've got a 15-foot levee and they're going to be here for sure, because right now they're at risk. We have 18 wastewater treatment plants around the Bay, and they're all at risk, and some of them are here in Milpitas. That assurance allows them to make that investment into it and use the most modern techniques, because a lot of them are using 1940 techniques. I'll just leave it at that.
So speaking of that, what kind of relationship do you have with the local governments in trying to improve things at the city level?
I think my reputation is a nuts and bolts type of senator. I'm not much of a show horse. more of a workhorse. And I think the areas in Santa Clara, San Jose, Santa Clara, and Milpitas look to me. They don't come to me for every little nickel and dime thing that they have, but when
Right.
they have a big demand and necessarily needs state support, they get it. I mean, I think the Agnew State Hospital is a great example. In Agnew's closed down; it's surplus state property. Because of the way that the districts were organized, Santa Clara School District serves that area of San Jose, even though it's technically in San Jose. And we put together a bill, but we worked with the Department of General Services and got a deal. So San Jose came in with some money for a park recreation. Santa Clara is now going to get a elementary school, junior high, and state-of-the-art high school that are going to be there. And it was a win-win. And some of the folks, when that happened a couple of years ago, were saying, Wieckowski, we needed your leadership. I'm not hanging around all the time, but this is when they need me. And
Okay, great.
I think generally, now that I'm the chair of the budget subcommittee that deals with money for resources and transportation and the environment and agriculture, folks are looking for me to have my imprint. And I think, well, the $20 million we got from Prop 68 this year for the San Francisco Bay restoration is a big deal. It helps out Milpitas, but it helps out the whole Bay. And I think folks are looking for Bob Wieckowski next year when we do the next $1 billion of
Right.
Prop 68 to say, okay, take care of, not hometown money, but things that help out the region and will help out Milpitas.
So let's talk about one of the other hot buttons in Milpitas, which is traffic. So you passed in Fremont a bill that gave back Route 84 back to the hands of the city of Fremont for them to manage. Is that something that might be an option for Milpitas with 237 between 680 and 880?
Yes. I mean, it does need legislation to do it, because typically what would happen, I mean, state routes were there forever. Now we've built it up in the areas to become urban. In the old days, when I was on the Fremont City Council, the state had to bring the road up to good repair and then relinquish it and turn it over to the cities. And the cities sort of did this bargain. Okay, it's not up to good repair. You have to do this. That's gone to the side. The cities are now, well, we have SB1, we have a $5 billion that we're giving half the money to cities. So cities have some money to do their own road repair. And the roads have become, they have different purposes. It's
Right.
not just getting traffic there. They want bicycles, they have pedestrians, they want to do ADA improvements, they have street furniture that they want to make it look different. So I would be open for if the city leaders in Milpitas would come up with a plan that's what they want. Part of it is regionally, I'm looking to get people out of their car. And
Yeah.
we have a project with the ACE train. And up in Fremont, it's if you brought Europeans and Asian traffic planners here, you have the BART tracks that go across by Quarry Lakes. You got the ACE train and the Capitol Corridor cross, and there's no station there. And every Brit would be sitting there saying, how come you don't have a change
Right.
there? And some people come from Livermore or come from Manteca and work in Milpitas. So they got to go down to
Right.
San Jose, or they drive their car. And you say, if I could just get out at Fremont and jump on the BART and come down to Milpitas, I'd be out of my car in a heartbeat. And
Right.
then if you could make the train go quicker through Niles Canyon. So we put $5 million into the MTC budget. We did in the state, and we gave it to MTC to study that connection. I mean, everybody is sort of discounts it and saying, no, go back and look at it. And this year, I plan to look at the improvements in the rail corridor, and whatever that means. If it means tunneling, if it means a $500 million or $1 billion, what is it going to take to get that ACE corridor and the Capitol Corridor that comes through Niles Canyon to go quicker, and to get some reliability for passengers so that they're off the streets of Milpitas.
And maybe coming all the way down to Milpitas.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we've just got a few minutes left. So last question, why should Milpitians elect you for this upcoming term in November?
I go back to the workhorse. I mean, I think I'm a business-oriented person, and I take my job as a state senator seriously. I'm not a household name for folks, so I understand that. But when you look at the body of work that I do, and you look at the activities that I'm involved in, I think people who watch the state capitol will say I'm a staff person's member, and what I mean by that is that I do my homework. I'm prepared at the hearings that we have, even the ones that I'm not chairing. If I'm chairing, I know often the bills better than the author knows them. So, and I would treat my friends and my foes the same. I have this balance bit where here's a problem with your bill, even though you're my friend, and here's the problem. What are we going to do about this? I can't let this out of my committee to do that. And the same thing with when other committees I'm on, like I'm on the transportation and housing. If I see something that pops out at me, I will say, I've got a question with this. This is what it is. And I don't try to grandstand. And I think that that's with so much of the animosity and the chatter that's going on in politics today, that people just like a regular, nuts and bolts sort of legislator.
It's one that just gets the job done.
Right. Well, it's about at the end of the day, at the end of the day, my dad will say, half the people are not going to like you anyway, whatever you do, right? So half the people are going to like you. But I think that's the even keel. And again, I don't take it personally when people don't like the ideas that come up, but I like to have them fleshed out and explain them and say, this is how I think the state could be improved. And, the world has their eyes on California. They're watching us to be a leader in climate, but also in technology. And, with the sort of craziness in Washington, these conferences that the governor had, and I'm going to Poland for the climate conference, there's going to be no U.S. government there. So people are going to say, oh, Mr. Chair of Environmental Quality in Fremont, what are you up to? Well, tell us about Milpitas, right? So I think there's a role that I am accepting, and hopefully I'll thrive and people enjoy that.
Awesome. Well, great. Thank you so much for chatting with us this morning.
My pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you tune in at 11:15. We're going to be talking to the mayoral candidates for Milpitas. I'm Francie Soto signing off for the Milpitas Beat. Thanks for watching.